After 10 heartwarming hours cooking, the incredible truth behind my DIL's shocking joke revealed. Mary stood before her kitchen counter, the scent of garlic and roast chicken wafting through the air like a warm embrace. For 10 long hours she had chopped, simmered, and seasoned with love, pouring every ounce of herself into the family reunion dinner. Each slice of onion, each handful of herbs was a connection to her past, a homage to her late husband, a decorated veteran who had always said, "Family is the heart of the home." With every dish she prepped, she felt his spirit guiding her, reminding her that hard work and dedication were the cornerstones of their family's traditions. As her kitchen filled with the comforting aroma of baked ziti and freshly baked bread, the clock ticked closer to the family's arrival. But a shadow loomed over Mary's heart. Her daughter-in-law, Carla, a busy city planner with grand ambitions, seemed to drift further away from the humble values Mary cherished. Dressed in stylish clothes and radiating confidence, Carla sometimes made Mary feel like a relic of the past, unappreciated in a fast-paced world that seemed to celebrate anything but home-cooked meals. When the family arrived, the laughter and chaos filled the small house. Mary watched as they shared stories, their voices rising and falling like a familiar melody. She felt a twinge of pride and joy, but it was swallowed by a sense of isolation as she stood quietly in the background. And then it happened, the moment that would upend her evening. Carla, with her usual brash humor, made a joke about Mary's cooking, something about not needing a Michelin star to enjoy family recipes. Laughter erupted around the table, but to Mary, it felt like a dead weight had dropped in her chest. Dismissed, forgotten. Instead of laughter joining her, it left her feeling humiliated and unseen. She retreated into the kitchen, hoping the calm would soothe her heart as family banter filled the living room, thickening the air between them with laughter and memories. Mary's hurt deepened. Here they were, a tight-knit family sharing stories of success and failures, aspirations colliding with her simple life. She felt invisible, almost trapped between the past and the present, when the sound of small feet made her look up. Timmy, her young grandson, stood before her, eyes alight with innocence. "Grandma, your food is magic. You make every holiday special." His words tumbled out like a heartfelt melody, each syllable wrapping around Mary's heart like a warm hug. But the tension outside loomed large, and she felt the pain of Carla's earlier joke resurface. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The room filled with chatter again, a wave of family unity wrapping around each person, yet Mary remained trapped in her own turmoil. Timmy picked up a spoon and banged it against the table, calling for attention. "Can I help Grandma with the next meal?" His innocent plea cut through her sadness like a ray of sunshine. But as the laughter and stories resumed, hope flickered amid the silence that enveloped Mary. She wrestled with her feelings of inadequacy, feeling her heart tugging between reaching out for understanding and retreating into her shell. Would she dare to voice her hurt? Could she break the invisible walls of disconnect and show her family that their roots mattered? That her love was the very thing that held them all together? The night still hung heavy with unspoken words, the air thick with the possibility of either renewal or retreat. Mary took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she wiped them on her apron. The kitchen was alive with the sounds of sizzling pans and cheerful chatter, but in that moment, it felt like an unmapped territory, foreign and overwhelming. Timmy's hopeful plea echoed in her mind. He saw her as a magician, the conjurer of family togetherness, and for the first time that night, Mary felt a flicker of resolve. "Okay, Timmy," she said, mustering a smile. "Let us whip up something fun together." The boy's face lit up brighter than the kitchen light above, and with that spark she found a tether to herself, a reminder of why she loved cooking for her family so much. They set to work side by side. Mary's hands guided Timmy's small ones as they mixed the dough for cookies. She couldn't explain how it felt to be crafting something sweet with her grandson, while the voices of her family floated around them. Each stir of the bowl mixed a little bit of her heart into the dough. With every sprinkle of flour and dash of chocolate chips, Mary found a solace she desperately craved as the cookies baked. The scent wafted through the house, drawing the family's attention. One by one, they trickled into the kitchen, curiosity painted on their faces. Mary felt their eyes on her, a mix of expectant anticipation and lingering laughter from Carla's joke. It should have intimidated her, but as she looked at Timmy, enthusiasm shining in his bright eyes, something unfurled inside her. "All right, family," Mary announced, her voice a bit steadier now. "We've got some cookies coming right out of the oven. Who wants to help me decorate?" Cheerful exclamations erupted, and soon enough, the table was bustling. The kitchen became a canvas, paintbrushes replaced by icing and sprinkles. Laughter filled the air. It was infectious. Mary was no longer an afterthought. She was the center of this joyful whirlwind. For the first time, she felt her heart beat in sync with the rest of the family, each giggle and cheer lifting away some of the heaviness that had settled earlier. "Grandma, look at mine." Timmy held up a cookie, eyes wide with fresh pride. It was lopsided but lined with the most colorful icing. Mary grinned, her heart swelling. "That's the best cookie I've ever seen." She couldn't help but lean down and plant a kiss on his cheek. But then Carla strolled over, eyes sparkling with mischief as she surveyed the scene. Mary's stomach twisted, unsure if she was ready for another jab. "Whoa, Timmy. What's that supposed to be, a cookie or an abstract painting?" Her words were light, teasing, but Mary felt the sting. "Carla, it's perfect," Mary managed to say, her voice steadying as she faced her daughter-in-law. "It's a reminder that our cooking and our love doesn't have to be perfect. It's made with a heart full of happiness." The room fell suddenly quiet. Mary noticed a shift. Carla's laughter faded as she processed Mary's words. For a brief moment their eyes locked. Could they bridge the gap that had grown between them? In that tentative silence, Mary felt a newfound strength pulse through her. She wasn't just another voice in the crowd. As the cookies cooled, the air crackled with possibility, the air thick with unsaid truths swirling around them. Would this be the turning point? A moment of healing amid the laughter? Before Mary could ponder further, a loud crash echoed from the living room. Chairs scraped against the floor, and sudden shouts startled them all. What on earth had just happened? Mary clasped Timmy's hand tightly, dread pooling in her stomach as her mind raced. What chaos awaited them outside the kitchen? Mary's heart raced as she glanced at Timmy's wide eyes. He looked up at her, uncertainty pooling in his gaze. She squeezed his little hand tighter, her own pulse drumming in her ears. The laughter from the kitchen felt distant now, replaced by a rising tide of panic stirring in her chest. "Stay here, sweetheart," Mary whispered, her voice barely louder than a breath. She let go of Timmy's hand reluctantly and stepped away from the comforting chaos of baking. The kitchen, filled with warmth and sweetness, faded as she moved toward the living room. The scene that greeted her made her freeze in her tracks. A decorative vase, once proudly perched on the coffee table, lay shattered on the floor, its pieces glimmering like scattered stars. Carla's son Jackson sat in the middle of the chaos, cheeks flushed with a mix of excitement and regret, a baseball in his hand. "Mom," he called, his voice tinged with panic. "I didn't mean to. I just—" His words tumbled out in a rush, and the corner of his mouth quivered. Carla rushed in from the kitchen, her face pale. "Jackson, what were you thinking?" Her tone cut through the air like a knife, laced with fear and frustration. Mary felt a familiar knot in her stomach tighten. She hadn't meant for this moment to unfold like this. She glanced at Timmy, who peeked around the doorway, eyes wide like saucers, absorbing the tension crackling through the air. "I thought it'd be fun to throw the ball inside," Jackson stammered, attempting to defend himself, though it only added to Carla's fierce expression. "Fun? That's not how we treat Grandma's things." Carla's voice could be sharper than intended in vulnerable moments. Mary noticed the tears brimming in Jackson's eyes and felt a rush of empathy. "All right, everyone," Mary interjected, stepping fully into the room, determined to restore the calm. "Let us all take a deep breath. It was an accident." The unexpected warmth in her voice caught everyone off guard, and even Carla turned to her mother-in-law surprised. "Mary, it's not just a vase." "I know," Mary replied gently, kneeling beside Jackson. "But accidents happen, and what matters is how we handle them." She focused on the boy's trembling hands and offered him a reassuring smile. "We can clean this up together. It's okay." The tension in the room seemed to ease, if only a little. Carla crossed her arms, her eyes softening as she watched her mother-in-law calmly mend a situation that had escalated quickly. Mary turned back to Timmy, still watching from the kitchen entryway, and beckoned him over. "Come help us," Mary said, her voice lifting the spirits in the room. "We can all fix this together." Timmy rushed over, a spark igniting in his eyes. "Can I help pick up the pieces?" he asked, genuine excitement despite the messy aftermath. "Of course you can, sweet boy," Mary said. "Just be careful." As they began picking up the fragments together, Mary felt a strange sense of unity forming in the air. A bridge she didn't know she could build. The laughter that once filled the kitchen trickled back slowly, blending in with their task, easing the worry that had settled heavily over all of them. But just as the mood began to lighten, the doorbell chimed loudly, a stark interruption to the fragile balance they'd begun to create. Curious faces shifted toward the door. Who could it be, just when they were starting to heal? Mary's breath caught again, and with a sinking feeling, she wondered if this visitor might complicate the moment further. Could it be someone who would draw back the curtain, exposing all the unresolved tensions still buried beneath the surface? Without waiting for an answer, she moved instinctively toward the door, her heart racing at the prospect of what lay ahead. As Mary approached the door, her heart pounded in rhythm with the chime that had just echoed through the house. She hesitated for just a moment, mentally preparing herself for whatever could be waiting on the other side. Instinct tugged at her, urging her to stay focused on the family inside, on the laughter she had fought so hard to bring back to life just moments ago. With a deep breath, Mary grasped the doorknob and turned it, her mind racing with possibilities. As the door creaked open, the chill of the late afternoon air rushed against her, a stark contrast to the cozy warmth she had just left behind. Standing on her porch was a tall figure, wrapped in a dark coat and holding a medium-sized box with a vibrant bow resting on top. "Surprise!" the figure exclaimed, a broad grin lighting up their face. Immediately recognition flooded Mary's mind, her neighbor, Ellen, who had always been a bit of a wild card. "Oh, Ellen, you scared me." Mary laughed, relief washing over her. "What's all this?" Ellen's eyes sparkled with excitement as she set the box down. "Just a little something for the kids. I thought it'd brighten up the day after that little incident." She gestured toward the remnants of the vase. "I know family gets a bit chaotic, and I thought you all could use a distraction." Mary glanced back toward the living room where Timmy and Jackson were still carefully cleaning up. The lightness in the air felt heavy, and despite the chaos, she was grateful for the moment they had worked to create. Would this gift complicate it further, or bring more joy? "Ellen, you really didn't have to," Mary said, grateful but tentative, her feelings swirling. But Ellen continued, oblivious to her hesitation. "Come on. You'll love it. I promise." She leaned in and whispered with a wink, "Trust me, it involves chocolate." At the mention of chocolate, Timmy's head whipped around. A wide smile formed on his face, causing Mary to chuckle involuntarily. If there was one thing that could lift the mood even higher, it was chocolate, especially when it came from a friend like Ellen. "Okay, let us see it," Mary finally replied, her enthusiasm growing to match Timmy's wide-eyed anticipation as she stepped aside to let Ellen in. As Ellen entered, Mary turned to Carla, who had been watching from the kitchen, still processing the earlier episode. "What do you think? Should we open it together?" Carla, still a bit wary but intrigued, nodded slowly. "Sure, why not?" She grabbed Jackson's hand, who had been peeking into the living room, trying to understand the sudden shift in atmosphere. Once Ellen revealed the box, gasps of surprise filled the room. It was a giant chocolate fountain surrounded by an array of colorful fruits, marshmallows, and miniature pastries. "Wow!" the kids exclaimed in unison, their previous tension now a distant memory as their eyes lit up with delight. Mary looked around at her family, warmth spilling through her. This could be the moment they needed, a time for healing wrapped in sweetness. And yet, amid their laughter, she couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was still lurking beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to arise. Just as they began to dig in, a soft knock echoed from the front door again. Mary exchanged puzzled glances with Carla. "Who now?" she wondered aloud, curiosity piqued. The laughter faded slightly, and Timmy tightened his grip on his marshmallow. Mary felt that knot in her stomach returning, but she couldn't ignore the feeling. Someone else was about to step into their world, and she couldn't shake the unsettling reminder that not every visitor brought joy. Taking yet another deep breath, she opened the door, wondering who or what would confront them next. Would they be able to handle whatever was about to come through that doorway? As Mary opened the door, she was met with a flood of cold air and an unfamiliar sight. A teenage girl stood at her doorstep, holding a clipboard and wearing a bright yellow vest that reflected the afternoon light. There was determination in her eyes, but Mary could see the hint of vulnerability behind them. "Hi, I'm Tessa from the Neighborhood Youth Council. We're trying to raise funds for our community center," she said, her voice steady despite the chill. "Would you like to donate?" Mary felt a flicker of curiosity. Tessa looked so earnest, standing there with her clipboard. But as she caught sight of the chocolate fountain and the joyful noise from the living room, the warmth in her heart made her hesitant. "Oh, we just had a little accident inside and actually can I come in? I promise I won't be long," Tessa interrupted, shuffling her feet from the cold. "I'm sure you're busy. I just wanted to drop off some flyers and tell you about our plans. It's really important to us." Caught between wanting to help and the feelings of chaos lurking in her home, Mary glanced back over her shoulder. Laughter still bubbled from the living room, but the knot in her stomach tightened again. She remembered the disconnect that had plagued her family recently, and felt an urge to bridge that gap. Somehow, if only for this moment. "'Kay, sure. Just for a sec," Mary agreed, opening the door wider and stepping aside. The girl swept inside, instantly enveloped in the cozy aroma of chocolate and laughter. "Wow, what is going on? This looks amazing," Tessa exclaimed, her eyes widening at the sight of the chocolate fountain. Before Mary could respond, Timmy sprinted over, a marshmallow on a skewer in hand. "You gotta try this. It's the best," he exclaimed, extending the sweet treat toward her. Tessa's laugh was genuine, a reminder of carefree days. "Wow, thanks. My mom would love this too." As Tessa took a bite, Mary watched the scene unfold: Timmy's innocent excitement and Tessa's amused reaction. It was a powerful moment. It reminded her that sometimes joy could break the barriers of worry. Just then Jackson walked in, eyes still bright from the chocolate festivities. "Who is this?" he asked, narrowing his gaze just slightly. "This is Tessa," Mary said, hoping her enthusiasm had drawn the kids together. "She is here to tell us about something important." "Like what?" Jackson replied, suspicion creeping into his voice. Tessa hesitated for a moment, sensing something. I was just telling your mom about our fundraiser. We want to create more activities for kids. Maybe a game night or something. It could be fun. But what if it's boring?" Jackson blurted out, arms crossed. "Then we'll make it wild." Tessa laughed, nudging Timmy with her hip. "I promise it won't be boring. A chocolate fountain is just the start." Mary felt herself relax a bit, warmed by the moment. The laughter crept back into the air, but then the front door swung open again this time. It was Mrs. Wilkins from down the street, her brow knitted with concern. "Mary, I thought I heard chaos. Is everything all right?" As the family looked from Tessa to Mrs. Wilkins, Mary felt the shift again, a new tension settling in. Could they really manage to keep the joy alive with this interruption? Or was this new visitor the tipping point that would send everything crashing down once again? Mary's heart raced. The laughter of chocolate and family mingled with the uncertainty hanging in the air. What was coming next might change everything. Mary straightened up, the weight of Mrs. Wilkins's presence pressing down on her. Tessa, still nibbling on a marshmallow, glanced between the two women, unsure of what to do. Timmy was still lost in his sugar-fueled delight, but Jackson's arms crossed tighter, his mistrust growing. "No, everything is fine, Mrs. Wilkins," Mary reassured, the words tumbling out quickly. "Just a little gathering with some chocolate fun." She forced a smile, trying to mirror the joy in the room. "Looks like quite the party," Mrs. Wilkins replied, her tone skeptical. "But what about Timmy's allergies? You know how chocolate can be." At the mention of Timmy's allergies, a silent wave of tension washed over Mary. She watched as her son's face fell, gleeful echoes quickly replaced by apprehension. "Mom, I can't eat chocolate," Timmy said, his eyes wide like saucers, a marshmallow still pinched in his small fingers. "Oh dear," Mrs. Wilkins breathed, clearly thrown off. "I didn't realize. I thought it's okay." I only tried it a little, Tessa chimed in, her voice bright but edged with a hint of embarrassment. I was just having fun with the kids. Mary's heart sank as Jackson piped up again. See, it's dangerous. We should put the chocolate away. His suspicion had morphed into a protective instinct, and she could feel his frustration growing, as if he had already taken on the role of a vigilant guardian. No, no, Mary replied quickly, her mind racing. It's fine, Timmy, I promise. You can just have something else. We were just Mary, it might be safer, Mrs. Wilkins interjected gently, a knowing look in her eyes. You know how kids sometimes forget dangers when they get caught up in the fun. Mary felt a familiar sense of being trapped between wanting to keep the happiness alive and adhering to the careful rules of parenting. The air charged with uncertainty thickened, and Mary's chest tightened. Okay, how about this? Tessa broke in, her youthful spirit unyielding. Why don't we have a chocolate-free table? I can help set up board games instead. No marshmallows or chocolate, just tons of fun. Mary looked at Tessa, surprised by the girl's quick thinking. The idea hung in the air like a glimmer of hope. If they could just redirect the joy and take action, maybe they could keep the day alive. Yeah, that could work. Timmy cheered, his eyes lighting up at the thought of games. Jackson seemed to hesitate, still skeptical, but she could see a flicker of curiosity peeking through. Sounds good to me, Mary said, finally sealing the plan with a nod. I'll grab some snacks and board games. She dashed toward the kitchen to avoid the thickening tension. Pulling a deep breath in as she did in the kitchen, she busied herself, cutting up some fruit and throwing together a bowl of popcorn, tiny rituals to ward off feelings of conflict. Her heart still beat fast, and she questioned whether they could really turn this chaotic moment around. Just then, she heard the kids bursting into laughter again, the tension shifting in the other room. It filled her with warmth, but there were still questions buzzing inside her mind. Could a simple plan like games and laughing over fruity snacks really bridge the gap she felt in her family? Would they find a connection amidst all this uncertainty? Could Tessa help them rediscover the joy they'd lost? Taking a moment to steady herself, she returned to the living room, the sound of laughter washing over her. But just as she reached for the doorframe, she noticed Mrs. Wilkins leaning in, whispering something to Jackson, and the boy's expression shifted dramatically. She couldn't make out the words, but the atmosphere cracked with potential trouble once more. Raising the hair on the back of her neck, what was being said could ignite a spark that threatened everything she was trying to build. As she stepped forward, Mary wondered what truth was about to unfold that could change this moment forever. Mary stepped into the living room, heart pounding like a drum. The laughter of the kids had a warm, inviting rhythm, but it clashed with the tension in the air. She eyed Mrs. Wilkins and Jackson, whose faces were now painted with serious expressions. What was slipping between them? Is everything okay? Mary asked, her voice steady but lined with concern. Mrs. Wilkins looked up, instantly masking whatever had passed between her and Jackson. Oh, we were just talking about how to make things safer. Her attempt at casualness didn't quite land. The corners of her mouth quirked up, but her eyes betrayed a deeper story. Jackson's brow furrowed deeper, still crossing his arms. Mom let us play games, right? Timmy interjected, relief flooding his voice. I want to play the dinosaur game. Mary smiled, grateful for her son's enthusiasm. Sure, buddy. That sounds perfect. She turned to Tessa, who was gathering the board games from the pile, her spirit unwavering. Yeah, everyone loves dinosaurs. Tessa chirped as she started setting things up on the coffee table. Just as they began to arrange the games, Mary caught a glimmer from Mrs. Wilkins, a look of apprehension mixed with something else, maybe regret. It wasn't enough to settle her worries. It only intensified them. She felt a deep need to confront whatever it was. But she also didn't want to stir the pot. They were so close to a happy moment. Was it worth risking it all? Can I pick the first game? Jackson asked, his voice blunt and cutting through the light-hearted chatter. I think it should be something we can all play together. Mary's heart sank at his tone. There was still an edge to Jackson that hadn't eased. Of course, sweetie, she said, trying to keep her voice soothing. What do you have in mind? Maybe we should start with something easier just for Timmy? He replied, casting a furtive glance at Mrs. Wilkins. Or maybe Tessa could choose, Mary suggested lightly, hoping the shift might lift the mood. She had the smartest idea with the chocolate-free table. Tessa nodded fervently, her eyes dancing with excitement. Yeah, I'll go first. She grabbed the game box and strutted it towards the table, clearly ready to fire up the energy. But just as everyone began to relax again, the doorbell rang, jerking them back into uncertainty. Mary glanced at Mrs. Wilkins, who gave her an ambiguous look. Did it mean trouble or something else? I'll get it, Jackson said, his tone shifting as he walked toward the door. Mary wished she could read him better. Irritation gnawed in her stomach, making her feel uneasy. What if it was someone who would disrupt the fragile peace they had built in the moment? As Jackson opened the door, Mary's heart sank again at the sight of a delivery man holding a large box. Hey ma'am, this just arrived for you. He tossed her a smile, but she could barely muster a return. She stepped closer as Jackson accepted the package, her pulse quickening. Was this the distraction they didn't need? What if it was something related to Timmy's allergies or worse, something from the past that would shake them all? Taking a deep breath, she tried to focus on the children's cheerful chatter and Tessa's boisterous spirit. But all the while her anxiety twisted tighter. What would unfold as they pulled back the layers of whatever was hidden inside that box? As she watched Jackson peel back the tape, her thoughts spiraled. Would this package bring answers? Or more questions that threatened the fragile stitch of their family? Jackson carefully lifted the lid of the box, the cardboard creaking against the tension in the room. Mary leaned in closer, her breath caught in her throat. With each slow movement, she felt a jolt of anxiety pulsing through her. This could change everything. Just a simple package, but it felt so much bigger. What is it? Tessa asked, her voice a curious chirp that cut through the thick air. Timmy and Jackson gathered around the box, eyes wide with anticipation. For a brief moment, their innocence lightened the heaviness Mary felt. Jackson pulled out a stack of papers carefully wrapped in a plastic sleeve. They must have sent the wrong thing, he muttered, confusion flickering across his face. He shuffled through the papers. Disappointment washed over Mary. Was that it? But Jackson's expression shifted as he flipped to the last page. Wait, this was supposed to be sent to us? His voice dropped to a whisper. Mrs. Wilkins stepped closer, her eyes narrowing as she took in the contents. No, it can't be. Mary peeked over Jackson's shoulder to glimpse the papers. The first thing she noticed was a logo. It was familiar, but somehow it felt foreign in this context. The weight of the moment pressed down on her chest. What if the box revealed truths they weren't ready to face? What does it say? Tessa asked again, her voice edged with eagerness. It looks like a custody agreement. Jackson blinked, still processing the words on the page. They're asking for a hearing. They want to look at Timmy's case again. Mary couldn't breathe. The room swirled around her, the laughter replaced by a haunting silence. All thoughts of games and laughter faded. Tessa's previously joyful expression morphed into confusion, while Timmy, blissfully unaware, started playing with the dinosaur figurines nearby. Mrs. Wilkins gasped, raising a hand to her mouth. That can't be possible, she said. There must be a mistake. We've had this settled for years. Jackson's voice trembled, shadowed by disbelief. What do we do with this? Do we have to go to court again? His brow furrowed deeper, the anxiety evident in the tightening of his jaw. We have to find out what this means first. Let us not jump to conclusions, Mary interjected, but her own heart was racing, fear clawing at her insides. The last thing she wanted was for Timmy to endure even more turmoil. He had come so far, but now it felt like everything could come crashing down. Mom, this isn't nothing, Jackson snapped, frustration bubbling beneath his surface. They're saying something might change. The air felt thick and electric, charged with dread. Mary looked at Mrs. Wilkins, searching for answers in her eyes. The older woman appeared lost, guilt creeping across her features. Mary knew they had to come together now. The last thing their family needed was division. Let us take a moment to breathe, she said softly, her voice steady despite the storm inside. We can handle this together. We have each other. Just then, Timmy interrupted, waving a raptor toy in the air. Look, the dinosaur is flying. His laughter was a stark contrast to the previous tension, cutting through the heaviness with pure innocence. With that, Mary's heart ached. Could innocence survive amidst fear? Questions raced in her mind, and tears prickled at her eyes. Was protecting him even possible? Do you think they'll find out? Jackson murmured, staring at Timmy as if he were a flicker of hope. Mary reached for Jackson's hand, gripping it tightly. They were all in this together no matter what. As Timmy's laughter echoed in the background, a new resolve sparked inside her. But how deep did this rabbit hole go? What more was there to uncover? Lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be revealed. The thrill of the unknown sent a shiver down her spine. What other secrets might unfold if they dared to persist in seeking the truth? Jackson's grip tightened around the papers as if he feared they might disappear. What if they find out? What if they really want him back? His voice was low but edged with a desperate sort of urgency. The color drained from Mary's face, a chilling realization washing over her. "We can't let them take him away," she whispered, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. She could feel the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. "He needs us. We won't let that happen." Tessa, with her wide eyes and innocent expression, looked between them, trying to piece together what was unfolding. "What does this mean, Mom?" Her voice trembled, and Mary could hear the hint of fear lacing her sister's words. "It means we need to fight," Jackson said, his voice thick with determination. "This is our family. Timmy is ours." Mary let out a shaky breath, taking solace in Jackson's resolve. She felt like a soldier preparing for battle. But this wasn't a battle she had ever wanted to fight. "We'll talk to a lawyer," she declared, surprising herself with the strength in her words. "We'll get all the information we can." Tension hung in the air, each word heavy with consequence. Timmy flopped down on the carpet, oblivious to the storm brewing around him, still engrossed in his little game of dinosaurs. Clenching her fists, Mary wished she could share that innocence, if only for a moment. "He deserved peace." Mrs. Wilkins moved to sit beside Timmy, her voice softening as she spoke to him. "What is happening, sweetheart?" she asked, brushing a loose strand of hair from his forehead. "Are your dinosaurs having an adventure? They're flying." Timmy giggled, launching himself upward, his arms outstretched like a bird. For a fleeting moment, laughter filled the room again, a beautiful reminder of joy in stark contrast to the darkness encroaching them. But Mary couldn't cling to that lightness. "We have to find the documents they sent," she said, breaking the spell. "It could have information that will help us." "I'll help," Tessa chimed in, hopping to her feet. Together they moved toward the box, diving into the scattered papers that remained. Each one felt like a potential clue, a map leading through the fog of uncertainty. With a determined breath, Jackson began reviewing the papers again while Mary scanned for anything that stood out. Her heart raced with each sheet. She was hoping for something, anything that could signal a way out of this nightmare. Mary Jackson's voice wavered again, catching her attention like a spark igniting in the dark. "Says they can review our living conditions. They want to come to our home." A chill coursed through her veins. "They're coming here? Why, we've done everything right." "Maybe they think we haven't," Jackson replied, his eyes narrowing. "What if they think we're not fit enough? What if they take him away?" "Stop!" Mary burst out, the panic clawing at her throat. "We won't let that happen." As she spoke, something caught her eye from the box, one paper tucked away as if it knew how important it was. With trembling fingers she pulled it out, her heart racing. It looked more detailed, specific. Her eyes widened at the words on the page and hope flickered. "Wait, there's a date," she whispered, feeling blood rush to her face. "What does it say?" Jackson leaned closer, fear and curiosity mixing in his gaze. "It's a court date." Time froze around them. Mary felt the world disappear as everything narrowed down to that one moment. Could they prepare in time? Did this change everything? Suddenly a loud thud resonated outside. A car door slammed, and the noise of approaching footsteps echoed in the quiet. "Who is that?" Tessa whispered, eyes darting toward the window. Mary's heart sank as she realized they might not have time to figure everything out. As dread settled in, she reached for Timmy, who now looked up, confused by the sudden change in atmosphere. "Whatever is happening, we'll face it together," she said resolutely, but deep down, panic began to claw its way up. What were they walking into now? Mary felt the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders as she glanced at Timmy, who blinked up at her, his innocence a haunting reminder of what could be lost. The sound of hurried steps drew closer, each heavy footfall echoing in her ears. Panic surged through her, tightening its grip, It felt like the walls were closing in. Who could that be? Jackson asked, his voice barely above a whisper, tension coiling in the room. Mary wished she could shield Timmy from the unease, but the truth pressed hard against her heart. They could be facing a formative moment, one she never wanted to confront in front of her family. Just then, the door swung open, and in stepped a stern-looking woman dressed in a smart suit. The room stilled as she introduced herself. I'm Rebecca Phillips from the Family Support Agency. I'm here for the scheduled visit regarding your family and the recent inquiry. The air felt electric with tension. Mary's heart raced at the words that hung heavily between them. Caught off guard, she momentarily lost her voice. Jackson exchanged alarmed glances with Timmy and Tessa, whose wide eyes reflected the tension coiling around them. Why are you here? Jackson demanded, his concern morphing into protectiveness, arms folded tightly across his chest. Mary couldn't deny the chill that skittered along her spine. But she took a deep breath, grounding herself. We were just celebrating a family gathering, she said earnestly, trying to maintain her composure. Can we, talk inside? Rebecca nodded, her gaze scanning the cheerful disaster of the living room filled with laughter and remnants of joy. But Mary could see the skepticism lurking behind her professional demeanor. Mary led the way deeper into the house, her heart pounding. This was no ordinary visit. This was a move toward their family's future, and everything felt precarious. She turned to face Jackson, Timmy, and Tessa, attempting to convey calmness, searching for support in their eyes. Let us just talk to her openly and honestly. Once seated, the atmosphere shifted from chaotic warmth to clinical scrutiny. Rebecca began with a firm but fair demeanor. I need to ask a few questions about your family dynamics and routine. She began, her pen poised, ready to take notes. What does that even mean? Jackson's voice cracked slightly. Are you saying there's something wrong with us? No, Rebecca replied, softening for a brief moment. But we're mandated to ensure that this family is healthy and safe. I need to understand how you're functioning as a unit. Mary glanced at Timmy, who fidgeted in quiet confusion. She stumbled over her words. We love each other. And we try our best every day. Jackson interjected, that's not enough for you? We have everything we need. His frustration bubbled as he glanced at Timmy, who was drawing little circles in the air, oblivious to the storm growing around him. Love is important, Rebecca assured. But so is stability. Consistency is vital for children. Can you share your daily routines? What does that look like? Mary hesitated, but with a shared glance with Jackson, her resolve solidified. We cook together, she shared. Family dinners, baking cookies, games on weekends. Every moment is an opportunity to connect. The words spilled forth, tinted with hope and determination. We strive for a home filled with laughter and love, even when it's hard. Timmy piped up then, his voice laced with innocence. And we always make a big mess, but it's fun. This brought a chuckle from Rebecca, momentarily lightening the tension wrapped around them. Mary's heart swelled as she saw how Timmy's joy could break barriers, for a moment, stripping away the weight of serious conversation. That's right. It's messy, but every bit of it is wrapped in love, Mary added confidently. At that moment, she could see a glint of understanding in Rebecca's eyes. What you've described sounds promising, she said thoughtfully. However, the outside world sees things differently. You've had an unexpected inquiry, and it needs to be addressed to reassure everyone. Has there been a mistake? We've done everything, Jackson said, desperation creeping into his voice. Mary placed a calming hand on his arm. There's no need to jump to conclusions. We can show her our dedication. Suddenly, a surprising idea sparked in Mary's mind. You know what? We just baked cookies. How about we share them? It's a way to show you who we truly are, she suggested. A mixture of hope and determination igniting within her. Could a simple cookie change the perception of their lives? Rebecca's eyebrows raised slightly, surprised by the offer. That might be a nice gesture. With newfound determination, Mary stood up and rallied the kids. Simon, let us show her what love looks like in our family. They hurried toward the kitchen, everyone's spirits lifted, a palpable momentum building within them as they prepared the cookies. Laughter surged, weaving them together. They mixed icing, splattering colors around. An expression of their happiness splashed on the walls in joyful chaos. Moments later they returned to Rebecca, who stood uncertain but curious. Mary beamed as she presented the tray overflowing with cookies. These are made with love. It's not just about how they taste but the joy of creating together. Rebecca took a cookie, and they all waited, breathlessly anticipating her response. As she took a bite, a tentative smile graced her face. These are surprisingly good. With that simple act of sharing, the tension in the room unraveled. They talked and laughed, feeling lighter with every passing moment. Before long, they were each sharing their favorite family recipes, detailing the laughter that filled their kitchen and the dedication they poured into every meal. Rebecca's pen was still poised, but her scrutiny softened as they dove deeply into shared stories, the warmth of family flooding the space where uncertainty once loomed. This moment became something transformative. Mary realized this wasn't just about protecting Timmy, but showing the world their truth. They built a bridge one cookie at a time. As they concluded, Rebecca nodded, looking genuinely moved. Maybe what I've seen today can help in reevaluating this case, she said slowly. The warmth of family can be a powerful force. Timmy climbed onto Mary's lap, their hearts full from the day's unexpected turns. In that moment, surrounded by love, they all took a collective breath, a shared understanding igniting hope in the air. We stand together no matter what, Mary said, determination anchoring her. Jackson and Tessa nodded, and as they exchanged looks of resolve, Mary knew this was the moment they became a stronger family. And the weight that had lingered within her began to lift, replaced with warmth and a steadfast promise. No matter what came next, they would face it as a family together. As the final echoes of laughter faded, Mary knew the journey ahead would still have challenges, but they would tackle it all head-on, hearts linked by love, resilience, and a batch of cookies that had changed the way they saw each other in the world. Now more than ever, they could design their future, each moment a sweet layer in the tapestry of their lives. So, here's your urgent call to action: you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for stories like this that inspire and connect us all. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and spread the joy of family bonds. Comment your reactions and feelings about this transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this heartfelt journey. Let us keep the love flowing.